Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. I got a wonderful message for you today, and I'm so glad that you stopped on this particular post. The message that I plan to bring you today is it me or is it you? This message is about the solutions to your social problems that the adversary, along with its political groups and other supporters, can never provide for you. And you yourselves will not receive. Even God won't give it to you, allow you to have it, unless it is your choice. Is it me or is it you? As a young lad, I've always wanted to be somebody. My childhood hero was Jesus Christ. Real fake, Jesus was my guy. Still, in my young life, like many aggressive young guys, especially dreamers, I made a daring decision, one that put my life on the line. And in that daring moment, a power I could not see, I could not touch or feel, yet the evidence revealed it was the hand of God that kept me. Me. Why me? I always, growing up in the church, believed in God. But now, doubt did not exist. I had the evidence. I always knew I would be a success. But my vision was in show business. I'd be the greatest entertainer, as great as Sidney Poitier and Sammy Davis Jr. But in the 60s, Dr. Martin Luther King glorified God in his work. And like Jesus, he was murdered because of it. Now, I admired him, but I definitely did not want to be like him. Like many young men, I craved a life of fun, alcohol, and girls. I even married young. But when I graduated from college, I chose Chicago instead of Hollywood. I got a job with the Veterans Administration, helping vets returning from Vietnam and others, including their dependents and survivors. And this included vets of World War II, Korean conflict, etc. Now, I must say that living in the big city brought me closer to crime and violence and poverty than living in a small Mississippi town known as Itabena. However, the impact returned me closer, much closer to my roots, which were Jesus and Dr. King. Now, I was thinking there is something more required of my life, considering that I had this experience with God. So I made the decision to leave the Veterans Administration and contemplate on a more worthy cause. Live for the elimination of pain and suffering of all Americans. Now, this decision opened the door to many unforeseen problems. A divorce, and sweetheart, you're not the only one. My present wife got my bags packed, sitting at the door. And I took a stance with the military, only to discover that the American government was a major part of human problems. So I opted out with certification indicating I wanted no part. I only accepted an other than honorable, and I considered that more important than my bachelor's degree from a university. Now, at this juncture, I saw my path, beginning with Jesus' compassion for the downtrodden, his prayer that God's will be done on earth, and his proclamation that humans, under God's guidance, could do greater things than he had done. And Dr. King, Dr. King was the evidence. No longer did I want the Hollywood stage. I wanted the world stage. No greater love than God's will done on earth as in heaven, so on earth. Now, for the past 40 years, ladies and gentlemen, this has been my daily task. It's been very complicated, not identifying anyone interested enough to even consider this cause. Many times I wanted to throw in the towel and just went into a binge of doing drugs and alcohol and women. But only to find myself convicted by the fact that I knew God. Not belief, but I knew God. And I know God. So I really had no real excuse. So I got back to the task. Sometimes I ask myself, is this to do God's biddings of love for humankind, or a name for my sake? In any event, it has been a rough road to hoe, and now I see the man most daring to be used to do the will of the adversary, with the support of fundamentalist and evangelical Christians, including the privileged, makes it seem so necessary that the spirit of love come up from the grave and touch every lover of God to come alive and defeat this monster at all costs for the preservation of humanity. Whether we are unknown throughout eternity, love, my friends, love must prevail. God must be glorified, and humankind survive in peace, prosperity, and freedom, joyous by the fulfillment of dreams as designed by God. Where does that leave me? Where do I go? What do I do next to serve God and humanity? Well, I repeat the truth again as God has given it to me to speak. Many people say they believe in the Bible. This means they accept any prejudices and ignorance that comes out of the mouth of the bishops, the elders, the preachers, the ministers, the missionaries, or Sunday school teachers. God is a spirit, unable to be bound in a book. To honor God must be in spirit and truth. God's plan for humans on earth is the same as it is in heaven. Peace, prosperity, freedom, joy, by the fulfillment of dreams, can only be achieved for all. Let me say that again. Peace, prosperity, freedom, joy, by the fulfillment of dreams, can only be achieved for all one way, as designed by God. Now, God made the earth, embedded in it, on it, above it, seen and unseen. Everything that humankind would ever require in meeting the heavenly standard. Now, having created humans, the process to achieve these ends, and I'm talking about what I just mentioned, engages every human in the proper time, in a career of their choosing. Each possible career is connected in such a way that it would cause a manifestation of humans' needs, of humans' wants, of humans' desires. Now this includes, but it's not limited to, food and clothing and shelter, education and health care, for a minimum of 10 billion humans at one time. When you say others of the New World Order are saying we got too many humans on earth and plan to kill them. Now, absent the spirit and truth, humans have been led to believe in the opposite approach and outcome. This deception has attacked them in every area of life imaginable. The population has been divided into nations, each with different systems of government. The people have been divided into races, each with their personal prejudices. Their faith has been divided into religion and churches, each having their different doctrines and creeds. Their duties have been adjusted for competition, creating the haves and the have-nots. The adversary is the one behind the curtain, the one what we call secret, creating from this pain and suffering, poverty, crime, and violence, lying, cheating, stealing, hatred, bigotry, racism, terror, killing, and war, the haves and have-nots. Can you see that? Peace and prosperity and the joy of life and freedom for everybody. Food, clothing, shelter, education, health care for everybody. God's way. The adversary's way. Creating pain and suffering. Poverty, crime, and violence. Lying, cheating, stealing, hatred, bigotry, racism, terror, killings, and war. The haves and the have-nots. Every mentioned division here on this earth, everybody falls in one of these categories. And every mentioned division is guilty of using their choice and playing a role in this hell on earth. And no one is innocent. No, not a one. Now, redemption is in recognizing this fact, turning away from this wicked way, and choosing to use your gifts to manifest as in heaven, so on earth. This is the redemption. This is represented in our lifetime. People that we know about. Not biblical people we hear about. We're talking about people we know about. Men such as Gandhi, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Lincoln, the Kennedy brothers, and hundreds of lesser known lovers throughout this nation and the world. The theme, we are all responsible for this hell on earth. And if we are unwilling to die to change it, it will remain. Because the adversary is playing it this way. And God gave us choice to have what we choose. No need to blame others. We're all in this hell as well. Now don't be deceived by thinking that you got something, and if you got something, God is blessing you. Not necessarily so. And don't give me that Job story without remembering. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than the rich. To know the truth is to forsake all else, that others may know that truth that you know as well. Not in your words alone, but evidenced by your actions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to leave a note here. In a couple of months, we're having our 50th class reunion in Mississippi, Greenwood, Mississippi. And I would love to go. I'm kind of familiar with everybody that went to school in that year that we graduated. And whether I did associated with all of them during that time, I'm sure at one time or another during that period, I met everybody. And this date, I really love them. I would love to meet them. But I have known, at least for the past 40 years, that all of the jobs and all of the careers that exist today, even though they were designed to do things God's way, the adversary stole it and introduced money. And people stopped working for love. They stopped working for each other, and they started working for money. And because I know that, then I could not engage myself in that process. I had to continue to tell people to throw money out of there, to wake people up to what money was being used for, to do all the things that I just mentioned, the crime and violence. And I wanted you to know this. Not only did I want you to know this, God Almighty wanted you to know this. In fact, for 3 different times, I ran for President of the United States advocating the message that I've just shared with you. Each time I had to run as a write-in because nobody either believed in this message or wanted this message. In fact, I never got really out of the front door. And to think that doing all of that, here comes one who pretends to be rich, backbiting and talking down everybody and making fun of the sick, closing doors on the poor, cutting out the little insurance or health care that one president has tried to provide for you. raising taxes for those who don't even need it so that you can suffer. You chose that man to be president. The evangelicals, the fundamentalists, the political parties engaged in it, and all of the different churches, maybe one or two, got into that process seeking after the will of the adversary. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we are. And this message is to tell you that you're there. And you want, I know what I've shared with you, but the political parties, the candidates that's telling you, make them leader, they'll do this for you, they cannot. And God will not. Because you, the people, have been given choice. And if you choose to keep down this path, wherever it leads you, that's where you will go. But if you could change your mind, change your will, and make a different choice, a choice of love, a choice of expressing God in your life, then as in heaven, so on earth. I would like to also say, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm experiencing some problems with my health. You know how they describe people who might be having a stroke or getting ready to have a stroke, or some signs that might indicate that you're having strokes. You know, your face starts feeling funny, your skin, flesh start jumping, pain stuff start running in your shoulders and down your arm, tingling in your fingers and in your toes, your legs all messed up. Well, I'm experiencing all of these signs. And really going to the doctor, they not going to try to fix that. They'll just treat it with some medication. And to think on top of that, to live continuously from this point in my life, going through the same things, watching the children, the young boys and girls who go through high school, who would love to go to college, by the tens of thousands denied because they don't have money. Watching the sick people who can't go and get any kind of health care because they can't pay co-payments. People who are homeless, people who don't have food, and people from other countries that's running away from that demon, that adversary, that devil, that Satan, or whatever you want to call it. And then you, the American people, are settling with putting up a wall, not recognizing that that wall might be going up to keep you from running out when the same pain that they are running from is introduced on you. My friends, you think I want to survive to watch that? You see, I can't do any more now than tell you what God has given me to tell you. I can't make any changes. I can work with you. I can guide you as best God guides me, if that's what you want. But if you don't want it, and even if you want it but won't stand up, it's like you don't want it. So I can't do anything. So why would I want to be left in this hellhole? So I'm saying basically, if you don't want to change your way of life, if you don't want to live in a better world, and I happen to have a massive stroke, the best thing that could happen to me is that I leave this planet. Because I know that there's a better place to go. And even if there's no place, I would not want to live around my brothers and sisters who are suffering, going through all of the bad situations that I've just described, and can't do a thing about it. I want to thank you so very much for giving me this, your time. It has been an absolute pleasure, but it would be more pleasurable if you could change and recognize God as the author of true life, and that adversary as a thief in the night that you are going to put to sleep. Until next time, bye-bye.